title of this presentation in the book is Additional Motions and Special Problems. So we're going to talk first about two additional types of motions that I haven't covered in the previous presentations. This will bring to 23 the number of motions that have been discussed in this series. We talked about making main motions, we talked about subsidiary motions, we talked about special motions, and another kind of motions, incidental motions.
Yeah.
And now we're going to talk about motions to bring back for consideration. The first of these is the reconsider motion. The motion to reconsider is used when you have discussed a motion and have voted on it, and suddenly you want to bring it back for whatever reason. It could be brought back because you suddenly realize you didn't want to do that, or it could be brought back because you've got more information now that maybe would help you make a better decision on it. The motion to reconsider must be made by somebody who voted in the majority on the motion in the first place. This is done because in parliamentary procedure you don't want to have people who are in the minority constantly bringing back motions that they didn't succeed with. And so if a motion passes and then later in the meeting someone decides that maybe I didn't want to vote for that, they can make the motion to reconsider, and the motion needs to be seconded. It must be passed by a 2/3 majority, or 2/3 vote, I mean. And this is because it's kind of stepping outside of the rules. So to set the rules aside, you have to have 2/3 vote. Also, when you do the vote on the motion to reconsider, you're voting on whether or not to reconsider. So once you have finished that vote, then you bring the motion back for consideration if the motion to reconsider passes. The other motion that I'm going to talk about is a motion to rescind. Well, the motion to reconsider is usually used in the same meeting. The motion to rescind is often used in a later meeting, where you made a decision in a previous meeting and maybe something came up that shows that your decision maybe wasn't a really good decision to make. Again, this motion requires a 2/3 vote unless there's been notice given that there's going to be a motion to rescind, and then it only needs a majority vote. The reason that you might make a motion to rescind is you may have, there may have been a smaller group that made a hasty decision, and now the larger group has come together and wants to rescind that previous decision. Or maybe you did an analysis here for your financial reports and discovered that you couldn't afford to take action on that motion. Or it might be something that on further consideration you don't want to take a position on, and you might want to rescind your previous motion or your previous decision so that you don't have to deal with the consequences of your previous vote. Now, there's other situations or other questions, just general questions about parliamentary procedure that they've also included in this presentation. The first one is, can a motion be adopted if only a few members vote in favor and many members abstain? Does anybody know the answer to that question? I think everybody here probably knows the answer to that question.
Yeah.
Judy?
That's
Yes. If you have a large group and a lot of them abstain, the majority vote could be less than a majority of the people there. It just needs to be a majority of the people who voted. The second question, can a member be required to vote on a motion? The answer to this one is no. Members always have the right to decide whether or not they're going to vote. There are several reasons why they may choose to abstain from a vote. The first reason is the member may feel that they don't know enough information about the motion to make it a wise vote. They may think that other members are more knowledgeable and can make the decision whether or not to vote. I've done that before, not voted in a meeting if I don't know enough about the subject. Also, the member might not really know which way they want to vote. They might feel just as strongly in favor as opposed, and so they decide not to vote because they don't know how they want to vote. That's kind of similar to the first reason. And the final reason that they give is that a person may have a conflict of interest. They may get some benefit from the decision, and therefore they feel they shouldn't vote, which is appropriate that they shouldn't vote if they have a conflict of interest. The next question, can a motion be adopted by a plurality vote rather than a majority vote? Plurality means the most votes. It doesn't necessarily mean you got a majority, but if there's several different options, the one that gets the most votes wins. This is something that's used a lot in elections, where if there's more than two candidates, there may be a plurality that isn't a majority. Usually in parliamentary procedure, you're dealing with things that are up or down, and so you really don't have to worry about the plurality thing. If a particular organization or group has set in their rules a rule about the plurality, then you can do it that way. But generally, you shouldn't make an exception. You should try to get a majority when voting on motions.